Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Planning Committee. I am Councillor Emma Sadoun and I am the Chair of the Committee. Please be aware this meeting is being filmed, live streamed and uploaded onto the Council's YouTube channel. I would like to get the members to all to introduce themselves, please.
Councillor Dan Bowring, Cynon Brentford Lock.
Councillor Sarah Raza, Hounslow South.
Councillor Marina Sharma, Brentford East.
Councillor Dani Said, Councillor for
Councillor Ghazalabad.
Sorry.
Councillor Ghazalabad, Brentford Ward.
Councillor John Stroud-Turp, Isleworth.
Councillor
I'm
Max
not a councillor, I'm Bill, I'm the clerk.
Councillor Max Mosley, Brentford East.
Thank you, Chair. Giles Gilbert, Legal Advisor this evening. Thank you.
Vincent Nakavara, Director of Planning and Buildings.
Matthew Rees, Head of Development Management.
Jackie Leung, Planning Officer of the application.
Joanna Wu, Senior Transport Planner.
Councillor Gramel Lal, Heston East Ward.
Councillor Ax Ahmed, Heston East Ward.
Homefields Ward.
Okay, do we have any apologies of absence?
We have apologies from councillors Tom Bruce, Adesh Farmahan, Farah Kamran and Hina Mir. Chair.
Any more? No. Okay, and any declarations of interest? Councillor Dan?
Just various emails from both sides.
I think we've all had the emails, haven't we? Yeah, thank you. And the minutes of previous meeting, can I ask members, is there any corrections need to be done? And can we approve the meeting? Thank you. Okay, I'd like to go to our one and only application. I'm going to pass to Jackie, please.
Good evening, Councillor. The application here today is 389 Chiswick High Road, also known as Chiswick Tower. The application is for external alteration and change of use of the tower from office to sui generis to provide 394 shared living accommodation and 486 square meters of co-working spaces. One of the two existing two-story annex buildings will be demolished to provide 23 residential units, which are use class C3. The development will include play space for children, internal and external amenity spaces, public ramp and Gunnersbury Station entrance improvement works. The application is presented here today as a major application with significant public interest. The planning team recommends approval with conditions and a legal agreement. Before I formally start my presentation, there are two conditions we would like to verbally change. The first one is condition 17. The caption would change to cycle parking and cycle hub. And there is one sentence to be added to reflect the cycle hub in the condition. So the first sentence would be prior to first use of or occupation of the development through details, including manufacturer specification and the means of the access of the cycle hub and secure covered cycle parking facilities that accord with the West London cycle parking guidance. And condition 19 would add turning area into the details. So the first sentence would be before the development here permitted is first occupied or brought into use, a delivery and servicing plan, including details of vehicle access, the turning area, and just arrangements and times that servicing shall take place, shall be permitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. So these are the two changes we would like to have verbally. So this one is the local plan, is the location plan of the application. The site is situated on the southern side of Chiswick High Road. It sits directly above the access to Gunnersbury Station. The building is being used as an office building. The surrounding area is mixed with both commercial and residential. It is not within a conservation area, but then it is close to multiple conservation areas. The nearby Gunnersbury Public House is a locally listed building. This is a, sorry. Yeah, sorry. This is the photo of the existing tower. The tower is 19-story tall with a basement, very visible in the area. It has 2 annex buildings. The main access to the site is taken from Chiswick High Road. The P-tel is 5, indicating very good connectivity to public transport services. The applicant has engaged with the council through a PPA since 2024. At the very beginning of the discussion, the whole site, which we are seeing in this photo, is included in the very early stage of the application. In the emerging local plan, the whole area is allocated for 60 residential units and 2,160 square meters of commercial spaces. But then after some discussions with TfL and also Network Well, the site was divided into 3. And for this application, it is only related to the northern parts of the site. Once the Gunner Spray Station improvement works carried out, the east car park and the west car park will be developed. This is the perspective drawing of the proposed development. It shows that the 19-story building will be retained, the existing height will be retained, but the facades will be changed. It will be referencing the original 1960 facade. The material and the color will be cream color and also browns. The building will be used for 394 co-living units. The annex building next to it will be 9-story tall. It will be built after the demolition of the existing annex building. The material will be red in color, cream in color, and also browns in color. The building will have 23 social ranch units. This is the existing Gunner Spray Station entrance from Chiswick High Road. You can see that the tower sits above the Gunner Spray Station, but then you may not be able to find the entrance easily. This is one of the shortcomings of the entrance itself. In this proposal, the green tiles will be used to aid wayfinding to the station entrance. The 2-story building on the left-hand side in this photo would be the co-working spaces. The next slides would be the proposed floor plans this is the ground floor. This is the first floor, and then this is the 3rd floor. For the Chiswick Tower, the internal amenity spaces will be provided on the ground floor, 1st floor, 2nd floor, 7th floor, and the 18th floor. The remaining will be living floors. For the annex building, ground floor will be the reception. The upper floors will be residential units. The roof would be a roof garden. This is the proposed landscape. Except for the amenity spaces in the building, the area fronting Chiswick High Road will also be enhanced to have a sitting area and also more planting. On the southern side of the site, there will be a linear park, which will be created with public play space and also a new pedestrian and cycle routes to connect the northern parts of the site to Wellesley Road. The proposed main access will still be via Chiswick High Road for the tower and the annex building. There will be over 300 cycle parking spaces. And then there will also be 40 short space parking spaces within the public realm. The development is designed to be car-free, but then there will have 4 blue badge bays and also 1 for car bay, 1 for the car club. During the consultation stage, we have received 4 objections, including 2 from the MPs. The objections are mainly related to no station improvements, include increasing parking pressure, impact on neighbors due to the change of use. West Chiswick and Gunner Spray Society supports the strategy, but then also they have some concerns over the delivery of the station improvements, public rights of way, landscaping, wind condition for the amenity spaces, light pollution, etc. Key concerns from the TfL and also Network Well including requesting a high-level feasibility study for station improvement works, safeguarding some areas of the site for 25 years to facilitate the improvement. They also have some concerns related to the temporary pedestrian and cycle path to Wellesley Road, requesting financial contribution for the increase in the trip generation, and also support active transport. NHS requests £142,000 financial contribution to accommodate the future population growth. When we approach the application, there are multiple planning issues that we have to deal with, including the accessibility in principle, the design, housing quality of the co-living and residential units, the impacts on neighbors, transport network, and also the ecology. The first one I would like to talk about is the fallback position. This photo is showing the elevation of a power approval scheme that we have approved before. It is a power approval scheme to change from office use to 181 residential units. It allows the applicants to develop no later than 2028. The scheme is reusing the existing tower to provide the new homes. Most would be single aspect. The two-story annex building would not be demolished, so there would be no new social rent units. The applicants only propose to safeguard the land for a minimum period of 18 months for station improvement works in the application, which is much shorter than Network Well suggested. Network Well is suggested to have 25 years of safeguarding period. Overall, the planning team considered this one is not a good design. The applicant has also proposed to change the facade of the building. It has been approved this week. The external alteration is based on the existing building, which means that it is also based on the power approval scheme. The proposed material are similar to the one that we are discussing today in this application. And the wayfinding to the station will also be improved. However, it does not include all the other public realm improvements, and there would be no improvements in the communal amenity spaces. The planning scheme considered this fallback position should hold a significant weight in the planning balance because the fallback position is a possibility and would be likely to be developed should the application be refused. The second principal issue is the Gunnersbury Station. The station serves London Underground and London Overground. The station was used by more than 500 travelers in 15 minutes during peak hours in 2023. However, the station has multiple constraints, including no staff-free access, and also the current facilities do not meet the station's demand. The Gunnersbury Station Improvement Works is listed as a key infrastructure project in the emerging local plan. It is considered vital to unlock growth in the parts of the Grey West Corridor Opportunity Area, so there is policy support for the improvement works. Due to the site location, it is considered that station improvement works would be very difficult to implement following any redevelopment works on the site. Therefore, the possibility of a station improvement should hold significant weight in the planning balance. As requested by TfL and Network Well, the applicants carried out a high-level feasibility study and come up with two designs. The one you are seeing in the screen is the baseline design. This one will have 121 lifts for step-free access. The station entrance will be improved. The concourse area will be enhanced. The platform will also have an additional stairs to reduce congestion and will have more sheltered area. This design is the enhanced design. It has the mirrors of the baseline design that we have talked about, but also with two 17-person lifts, relocation of the ticket office to open up concourse, large amounts of sheltered waiting space, and can improve train stopping point. In short, the study confirms that there are possible designs for station improvement. The applicants also promised to provide £50,000 to conduct another technical feasibility study to understand the existing condition of the station. This would be secured by Section 106 legal agreement. So this is also the photos of the enhanced design. This is the platform design of the enhanced one. To facilitate the improvement works, the applicant agreed with the TfL and Network Well's suggestion to secure the area in green and red in the screen for 25 years, with a trigger point of 13 years to establish the design. This would be secured by the legal agreement. However, the planning team would need to stress that the station improvement works do not form part of the current proposal. The principle of safeguarding the land to facilitate works should only be considered as a positive aspect of the scheme. Besides, the design has not been confirmed. Further studies will be needed. Network Well has also mentioned that they do not have funding available for the works at this moment. For the principle, we also look into the loss of office spaces and the change to residential use. Chiswick Tower and the annex buildings are lawfully in use as offices with over 18,000 square meters. But it is suggested that 70% of the office spaces are vacant after active marketing. The applicant has carried out a viability assessment for retaining a part of the office spaces when developing. This is the result that shows the development would be less viable when more office spaces are retained. Even for the proposal that we are discussing today, it is also confirmed to be not viable after the power approval scheme has been granted. Therefore, the Council agrees that retaining only 486 square meter co-working spaces in the building would be acceptable. The principle of changing the use into residential is established in the emerging local plan allocation. The proposal will provide new units to meet the housing target. However, the plan also stated that the borough has extremely limited need for shared living accommodation. The planning team considered the change of the tower into co-living should be an exception because the location is accessible to public transport, shopping areas, and job opportunities. This is supported by the emerging local plan policy. This picture shows the 9-story annex building. It will house 23 affordable units. They will be social rent. In total, 14.4% of the net internal area will be affordable. The applicant agrees to provide further financial contribution to increase the ratio of affordable housing contribution to 20% of the floor spaces. On the basis that the scheme would not be viable, and also for the fallback position and also other merits that we have mentioned before, the planning team does not object to the affordable housing contribution that is lower than policy requirement. This would be secured by Section 106 legal agreement with a backstop to ensure delivery within a reasonable time frame. Regarding the quality of the residential units, this photo is the layout of one of the standard co-living units. The rooms will have facilities inside, including ensuite bathroom, double bed, and some other facilities. The size would be 18 to 29 square meters, in which 15 units would be 2 square meters bigger than the local plan guidance. It is considered to be acceptable due to the constraints of reusing the existing building structure. For the affordable units, 6 of them would be 1 bed, 5 would be 2 bed, 8 would be 3 bed, and also 4 would be 4 bed units. 3 units would be wheelchair accessible M4 free homes. The mix would be acceptable. All units would be dual aspect. The privacy issue has been considered when designed with the installation of forced glazing and solid screen to avoid overlooking. For internal lights, 91% of the units that we are looking right now, and also 69% of the co-living rooms will meet the highest BRE standard of daylight. 100% of the social rent units and also 64% of the co-living units will meet the sunlight target. The planning team notes that there is a shortcoming. However, it is not considered to be a refusal reason due to the reuse of the existing building and its orientation, and also the other benefits of the scheme. The private amenity spaces for the affordable units is largely acceptable. The communal amenity spaces within the building, which is shown in this photo, fall short of the local plan requirement. However, we should also consider that the applicant would be improving the public realm outside of the building. future tenants of Chiswick Tower and the annex building could also benefit from all the public realm within the site location. The quality of the accommodation is considered to be acceptable, subject to conditions related to landscape, noise, air pollution, and wind condition. Regarding the design and heritage impact, the site is not within a conservation area, but then it is close to a Sherwood conservation area. Here are some photos from different viewpoints. This is from Wellesley Road. This one is from Chiswick Business Park. This one is from Kilbridge. And this one is from the Thames Path. It is considered that it would not harm the heritage assets as the height of the Chiswick Tower would remain unchanged. The proposed facade will reduce the visual impacts of the building when viewed from the conservation areas nearby. The proposed materials have been discussed in the pre-application stage. The color and the design are considered to be high quality. There would be a condition related to material sample to ensure the quality of the materials would be acceptable. For the impact on adjoining neighbors, the submitted sunlight data report finds that 18 rooms in the garage, which is on the southern side of the site, will suffer from a noticeable loss of sunlight, loss of skylight. However, the south-facing rooms passed the test for sunlight and daylight. Considering all the results, the site constraint in an urban context, and also the provision of the social rent units in the new annex building, the impact is considered to be acceptable. Regarding transport, as mentioned before, 40 short-stay parking spaces would be provided. There would be a new cycle hub at the west of the site. The pedestrian and cycle route created from Gunnersbury Station to Wellesley Road is temporary. There would be a Section 106 legal agreement clause to ensure there would be a link to maintain active travel provision. The main vehicle access would still be via Chiswick High Road. The conditions would ensure the proposed turning point for delivery and for refuse vehicles would not interfere with the future station improvement works, and the collection hours would not affect the operation of the bus lane. The proposed highway works, including the relocation of the pedestrian crossing and the bus cage further west, that would improve the access to and from the station. For sustainability and ecology, the applicant is required to make a financial contribution of £16,000 to the carbon offset fund. The biodiversity net gain would be 11,000%, well above the 10% requirement, but further ecological assessment would be needed by condition. In conclusion, the planning team recommends approval of the applications with conditions and a legal agreement, as the proposal will have more community benefits than the prior approval scheme. It also safeguards a part of the land to facilitate future Gunnersbury Station improvement. The safeguarding period would be 25 years, with a trigger point of 13 years to finish the design. The loss of office spaces, the provision of co-living units, and the shortfall of the affordable housing contribution have been justified. And this is the final slide of the presentation, which is to summarize some of the cash financial contribution in the heads of terms of the legal agreement. It includes the payment to match the 20% affordable housing provision, the NHS contribution for £142,000, adult cycle training, which is £25,000, active travel contribution, which is around £50,000, Gunnersbury Station feasibility study, which is a contribution around £50,000, and also the carbon offset fund. Thank you very much. This is the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Officers, do you have questions? Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Jacket. Well done on a very long presentation. I appreciate you'd rather be taking a breath, but yeah, I do have some questions. So firstly on that, it says the carbon offset fund is only £16,000, but I didn't see much in the development in your presentation about the sort of sustainability credentials. Could you just comment on that?
The applicants has carried out a lot of measures to try to do the to try to match the net zero development, but then after they could not match all of it, and then our sustainability officer has checked all the drawings, all the information, and the calculation is £16,000. And with the £16,000, the development will be net zero.
Councillor John.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just probably the main issue around this, and there's probably going to be several, is going to be the station. As most people know, Gunnersbury Station, even in 2021, a study in 2021 was rated the worst station out of all the London Underground station. It's desperately unsafe, it's not very nice, and it's difficult to use. This is probably going to be a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do something with the station, and if Network Rail and TfL can't actually do it now, to make sure we leave it in a position where they can actually do something about it. And there's several things in here which aren't terribly clear to me, and maybe you can help with it before we start asking questions of the applicant. So if we look at 4.7, and there's some very nice pictures which are nice to look at, but they don't really convince me that there's anything concrete behind them. They're just pretty architect's pictures. And they're all done from a feasibility study. And I notice in the addendum that that's now been changed to, it's still a technical feasibility study that the applicant's going to undertake. I think what this committee will be looking for is some real confidence that before we agree this, or we put conditions onto it, and we'll come to it, that we are confident that we're going to get a better station out of this. Maybe not tomorrow, certainly before 13 years when we've got the cut-off for actually getting something done. But we've left this in the best position possible for this station to be upgraded. So what is it? What's the difference between the technical study, the feasibility study, and what is it that, because Network Rail and TfL, they're sort of a bit lukewarm about it, I feel, and the words broadly agree and generally agree just don't convince me, and I'm sure they don't convince my colleagues either. What we're looking for is some pretty robust stuff here that says this development will leave Gunnersbury Station in a position so it can be put into a state which is safe and usable and supports the passengers and the residents that are going to use it. So can you just talk us through the difference between technical, feasible, and what they're actually going to do as a result of this?
So we are talking about two kinds of feasibility study. The one that we have, the one that the applicant has carried out before is the one about these are the feasibility study for the design. This is the request from TfL and also Network Rail to confirm that there are possibility, it is feasible to have some design for the station improvement after safeguarding some of the land, which is this area. After safeguarding all this area, there are possible design to improve the station. So this is what TfL and Network Rail has requested the applicant to do before. But then there is no study for the structural condition of the station. So they need to do another round of feasibility study to confirm it is structurally okay to do all the improvement works of the station. So the applicant agrees to fund £50,000 to do another round of feasibility studies to confirm the structural condition of the site. And after that, we no matter it is the planning team, TfL, Network Rail, and the applicant will have more information related to the actual situation of the site and may be able to calculate the cost. Because right now, we do not know about the cost. And also for this application, the improvement works is not included here. This application is for the change of use and the alteration of the existing building, and also to demolish and build a new building for affordable units. But then there is a merit, there are community benefits by safeguarding these areas to facilitate the station improvements. Because if we do not safeguard the station, do not safeguard the areas, the applicant may have the fallback, but may use their fallback position to do the power approval, which will be even more difficult to facilitate the station improvement works.
Yeah, I was going to come back to the fallback position. I mean, we've been here before with fallback positions, and that we know they're stalking horses. We know the developer doesn't want to build them, and that by threatening the fallback is not. I don't suspect it's going to convince this committee. We've been at them before. Warning order for the developer when you come to do your bit. We will be saying that. So what we want to do is get the maximum we can out of this and be assured that we are going to get a good station. Maybe not this year, but very, very soon. And that's what we're looking for. So we want that feasibility study, and that's what we're going to be pressing for, I feel.
The council is working with TfL and also Network Well. We have some discussions. But then the message from Network Well right now is that they do not have confirmed the funding, but then the council will continuously work with TfL and Network Well for this project. As mentioned before, in the emerging local plan, we understand that it is really important to have the station improvement works. This is one of the key infrastructure works that we have mentioned. So I would say that it is one of the very important works for our team.
Councillor John Todd.
Yeah, thank you. Paragraph 40, the council should commit to allocating some of this SIL to augment the 106 funds already legally assigned to Gunnersbury Station. I mean, what is the current SIL figure for this site?
There is no SIL money for this one because the new building is affordable housing.
Well, why do you mention that?
This is the paragraph 4.4 is an updated comment from West Chiswick and Gunnersbury Society. This is the comment from them.
I endorse what my colleague said, that the station is dangerous. It's always been dangerous, and they allocate special staff there to minimise that risk. But the great tragedy was when the tower was built, the station, we all know this history, that the station wasn't built because of various conflicts. And we've suffered since, and locals have suffered significantly, having primitive entrances and various other. Have we actually asked the council to allocate some SIL? I think we should, or has it been done yet or not?
We have allocated some money to this station improvement works. We have 1 million in the council for the station improvement works. Yeah, it has been allocated.
Is that old money or fresh money?
It should be old money because for this, it should be the money that we have from the older schemes, but then there will have some other new schemes. We may have some more funding for this one, but then for this application, we do not have any SIL money.
Okay. So there was far more money last time, wasn't there, for the station?
If there are some more SIL from other applications, then may have a chance that we could have some more money for this.
Speaking as a local council, not quite locally, but I'm looking for evidence of the council's committed to this project in a financial way, and I don't see it. Not for you to answer, perhaps. Okay, all right. Can I move on to a separate subject? You mentioned car clubs operators. I mean, Zipcar's gone bust. Is there another alternative or not?
Yeah, in the scheme they provide a car club bay, so it depends, subject to further discussions with the developer and also the car club operator in the borough.
One bay for a vast number of people, but in page 67 of the original report, you allude that the procure a car park operator to provide a single car vehicle for 3 years, and all the residents will get a membership of that club. I mean, that's incredible pressure from all those hundreds of people in one bay, isn't it?
Yes, for this development, but there are other car club bay in the area that they could use as well. So it's not just for this particular car club bay. So they can use all other car club in the borough or near the site.
Do you have any estimate of the actual cost of producing a report that TfL and Network Rail, and the actual project itself is many millions? Would you agree with that? To produce the report, the technical report that TfL want, and the actual construction of an amended station will be many millions of pounds. Would you agree with that?
The technical feasibility study would be around, the cost of the technical feasibility study would be around £50,000, which will be funded by the applicant. But then we do not have the construction cost, the proposed construction cost for the future design, because we do not know how the design would be. With the technical feasibility study, then TfL and Network Rail may have a more clear picture about the construction cost.
Asking a very leading question, if the developer refuses to go along with the station amendments, using that a loose term, what provision are there to force them to do so?
Because we safeguard in the Section 106 for 25 years, so legally they should do it, but then there would be a trigger point if in the next 13 years TfL and Network Rail cannot come up with the design, then that would be the end of the safeguarding period. So that would be 13 years for safeguarding to have a design. If there is a design within the 13 years, it would prolong to 25 years for safeguarding the land for future improvement works, which means that TfL and Network Rail, mainly is Network Rail, will have 25 years to find the funding.
Councillor Max Mosley.
Two quick questions. I'll just start with the first, which is, I'm aware there's 2 stories beneath the car park at the bottom end of that picture there. I was just curious what is happening with those. I know they're not included in these plans, but if they are remaining as they are, do these plans have any implication on the stories below?
For the Chiswick Tower, the basement...
Sorry, for the parking. So if you go back to there was the map at the bottom left there. There's multiple stories of car parks beneath it, but it looks like they're abandoning the car park. So they're just curious what's happening with the rest of it.
Yes, they are not being developed right now because at the very beginning of the pre-application and the PPA, the whole site is in one piece, and then there are some development plans for West Car Park and the East Car Park. But then after some discussions with TfL and Network Rail, at that time the focus is mainly about the feasibility of the station improvements. So after some discussions, I think all parties agree that it should be divided into 3 pieces so that it would be easier to do the station improvement works. And so
I mean, so beneath those car parks, there's 2 more stories of car park, but by the looks of it in that picture, there is going to be no more car park there. I'm just curious what's happening beneath the scheme. The
ground floor, the basement for the existing Chiswick Tower, that would be used for cycle parking. And then there would be, they would be used for cycle parking.
There's a lot of cycle parking.
Yeah, they have more than 300 cycle parking spaces.
The West Car Park, the first basement is for resident storage as well. So it's resident storage plus cycle parking. And the second basement is empty and vacant. They are not proposed to do anything with that.
Just so others can follow, could you go to the picture of the station looking down? Because then you can see what I'm talking about. Right, so yeah, there. So on the left, you have... Yeah, either one. Yeah. So you've got 2 stories of structure beneath. We're saying that some of that's going to be for cycle storage, and some of it's for residential storage.
No, these two are the West Car Park and the East Car Park. It is outside of the boundary for this application. So they would not be developed. They would be developed, the West Car Park and the East Car Park would only be developed according to the submitted information. they will only be developed after the station improvement works because the whole site has been divided into 3 pieces.
But on the plan that we're looking at here, there is a floor beneath the children's play area, which is included.
It is on the northern side of the west car park. But then the one that you are looking right now is the southern side, which is the west car park in the one that we are showing. I think they are talking about here.
It's here.
But the one that you're talking about, the one within the site, but then not the west car park, isn't it?
So it's here.
Yeah.
So this one.
Yeah, this one, part of it is the basement, which is used for cycle parking spaces. But then the other part, that is directly under the new park, would be for storage. But then the one that you are looking right now, because they are actually divided into 2, the northern part of the west car park would be the new park, but then the southern part, the southern side, what we are seeing right now, would be the west car park that would not be developed.
Okay, forgive the line of questioning. I lived just here, and I often looked at that car park and wondered what people were going to do with it one day. So, okay. So then my more substantive question was about wind. You'll note the comments from West Chiswick Underby Society that they were concerned about the wind there. I echo those concerns, again, as a sort of former very local resident. It is pretty strong there. I suspect it's because of the design of the building and the particular shape that it takes. I note in the report that it says that the design that we're looking at here does not have any impact necessarily on wind, but I think the issue is that the existing structure has an impact on wind, not that the new retrofitted structure would, because it would be a very little change in terms of the shape. So has that wind assessment taken into account the existing structure, not the additional changes made to the structure?
The applicants has carried out study related to the wind, and then according to the submitted report, the result is that it would be acceptable. But then there is some exchanges among multiple parties, including West Chiswick and Gunnersbury Society and the applicants. And the applicants acknowledged that there is the wind condition issue, and they confirmed that they would look into the wind condition when they have the final design of the program.
So just to confirm, though, that they have taken into account the existing structure and done an assessment of wind direction and have concluded that it is not a problem.
Yes, they have carried out the studies, including the existing and the new structure about the wind condition, and the result is acceptable. But then they have the design for the public realm right now, but then they will have the final details about landscaping later on when they have the final design of the landscaping and the public realm. They have confirmed that they would consider the wind condition, because I believe the main concerns for the wind condition is for the public realm, so that is their promise.
It might be theirs, but personally, I would have suggested that the wind issue is slightly wider than that. I'm slightly surprised that they have concluded that there isn't an issue. So my question is there an option to ask for a further, more detailed report, or is the position of the council that the report that was done was of sufficient standards and that's the end of the matter?
Yeah, so I think we've got to be slightly careful in the way that we put not a problem with wind, as in like they've established what the current issue is, and I don't think anyone's denying that there is an issue around wind. It's that threshold as to when it becomes unacceptable in policy terms, which is quite difficult to substantiate within a statement. So it's not worsening. They have implemented measures that endeavour to improve it. So in policy terms, it is acceptable. They talk about things like there's no danger to life and things like that. That's the wording that you use in their wind assessment. So what we are suggesting is that satisfies our policy standard, which is what we're looking at. I don't think anyone's denying that there's an issue with wind at the moment, and I think they are quite clear with that in their statement.
Councillor Rosa.
Thank you, Chair. Just really coming back to what a lot of councillors have already sort of said here. So when it comes to actual station improvement, at the moment, it is that we're just doing the building. That's all what the plan is for. And once Gunnersbury Station has been done. So once it's been updated, we'll be looking at East and West Car Park being updated as well. And I think following on to that, is there a time frame for this feasibility? I know 13. I know you said sort of 13 years, but can we narrow it down legally? Can we challenge that and try and get it as quickly as possible?
Yeah, the requirement of 25 years is from Network Rail, but yeah, it's council's ambitions. We want to sort of deliver as soon as we can. But subject to more detailed technical feasibility study, i.e. probably looking at the structure, whether it's sufficient or confident to build a concourse above the track. So that would subject to all those study. But yeah, this is our ambitions, want to deliver a bit earlier.
Forgive me, is there sort of a time frame of how long these take?
I think the key issues here is about funding. So yeah, we sort of trying to look at like SEAL, Section 106, and other match funding. So yeah, they would be sort of going together as well.
Councillor Marina Sharma.
Thank you, Chair. I've not seen anything in reports, so forgive me, with regards to how the units are going to be heated. Would it be right to say that it'd be like the air conditioning units that are already in the office building? Would that be fair to say?
I need to check that once again, but then they will have some measures. They are not using the existing system.
Okay.
They will have, because they will have to meet the net zero development requirement, so they have some new features. For example, they have the heat pumps, they have the PV panels, and then there are some other things to ensure the building is sustainable. So it is not entirely using the old system.
And the reason I ask is that we actually have similar in our ward in Brentford East, which is an office building turned into flats, and their heating is on the it's blocked off, but it's on the existing air conditioning units. And if one flat's heating goes, they all go. Yeah, so I would hope that if this is approved, that everyone has their own individual heating.
Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Chair. Jackie, in your comments on cycle parking, it just says there'll be a mix of Sheffield stands, 2 tiers and accessible. Can you clarify what that mix is?
I think in the submitted document, the applicants offer 15% Sheffield stand and 75% a 2-tier or vertical, semi-vertical, and 5% accessible stand. But we would asking...
Sorry, 15, 75...
And 5.
And 5.
Yeah. But I think...
Isn't that 95?
Sorry, 75, 15... no, sorry, 80. 80 for the vertical, sorry. Okay. But what we would seek would be a 20% Sheffield stand and also at least a minimum 5% accessible bike stands. That would be looking at the details in the condition as one of the cycle parking condition.
So is that something that you would actively pursue, or would it be more appropriate for this committee to impose that as a condition?
I think the condition, yeah, we did include the long stay and short stay cycle parking. Yes, if you want to like to impose that, yeah.
Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, we're going to go to a speaker now. Can I invite Marie up, please? Good evening, Maria. Just to let you know, you've got 5 minutes to speak, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors. Firstly, we agree with the planning officers as to the significant benefits of this scheme in comparison with the consented fallback scheme, and we support the recommendation to approve. Secondly, we would like to thank the developer for recognising that land under their ownership is crucial to improving the station and for working with council officers to safeguard it. Councillors, we ask that in your deliberations this evening you seek confirmation from the planning officers that the points concerning the development raised in our email to you of 2nd of December have been resolved satisfactorily. We sought for confirmation that certain key issues were adequately controlled. For example, we sought to ensure safe use and operation of the station during construction and that the Chiswick High Road entrance remains operational. We sought to ensure that the final designs for station entrance plaza and associated areas of the public realm take full account of the windy conditions, already mentioned, experienced by users of the stations. Anyone who uses the station knows how windy it usually is. I hope that the planning officers and the developer, I've looked at the conditions and I couldn't find all these, but apparently they are. So I want to turn to an issue close to our hearts, which is our local environment. And up there you can see, as part of our Green Up Gunnersbury campaign, we seek to green and brighten up neglected corners of our patch. Our Meanwhile garden sits to the east of Chiswick Tower, and it's watched over by this little fellow. It's Gunnersbury Gus. He's an honorary member of the society. The Chiswick Tower development presents a not-to-be-missed opportunity to improve the public realm along this heavily used stretch of the High Road. We understand that the developer would be willing to extend his landscaping some distance eastward of the annex. We believe that by working together we could realise a joined-up public realm from railway bridge to station. This would give a real uplift to the local environment, which would be of great benefit not only to the future occupants of the tower and annex, but also the local community. If such collaborative approach were to be endorsed by this committee, the Society could seek funding for our part of the scheme. So we ask, please endorse this collaborative approach. We're aware that land ownership of this corner of the High Road is, like everything else associated with Gunnersbury Station, extremely complex. And we would seek help from the Council, Hounslow Highways, Network Rail and the developer to sort it out. So now what I really want to talk to you about is Gunnersbury Station. And since Chiswick Tower sits on top of the station, you cannot consider one without the other. We're pleased that the land needed for expansion of the station has been identified and will be safeguarded within the legal agreement. It is good to have this long-term protection, but I ask you, are we expected to accept a wait of 50 years from the opening of the Chiswick Business Park? Are the inspectors of the local plan likely to find this a sound approach to provision of strategic infrastructure? We are dismayed that TfL and Network Rail suggest that 25 years is a realistic timescale for these vital improvements. The Chiswick Business Park has already been in operation for 25 years, and the obligation to improve the station stemmed from the outline planning permission for the park granted in 1991. When some changes to the station were approved in January 2012 and partially delivered in 2018, it was recognised they were inadequate to resolve the real problems of access and passenger safety. How woefully inadequate the current facilities are, including when judged against TfL and Network Rail specs, is shown in the feasibility study. You can see the pictures there of some of the awful aspects of the station. In January 2012, I asked of your predecessor, the Sustainable Development Committee, as lowly Gunnersbury residents is wanting to go upstairs and downstairs too much to ask, are we getting ideas above our station? Now it appears that waiting for a satisfactory upgrade to Gunnersbury is like waiting for Godot. But back to the future, we've examined the feasibility study, we appreciate its limitations, but we like what we see, especially the enhanced design, if only it could be delivered. We recognise that amassing sufficient funding is the main impediment to delivering the necessary improvements, but we're aware from the report presented to the Cabinet in February by Councillor Tom Bruce, it's a pity he's not here, that the large-scale developments that have taken place recently in the surrounding area, that's East Brentford.
30 seconds left.
have generated a significant amount of silt. Our plea is that the Council commit to allocating some of this silt to augment the Section 106 funding already legally assigned to Gunnersbury Station. Councillors, please make a strong recommendation to the Cabinet to allocate a significant amount of silt from their pot of silt for Gunnersbury Station improvements without delay. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to ask members for any questions. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you for that. I just want to touch on your comments on the sort of environmental enhancements, which look and sound fantastic. But I just wanted to get a bit more clarity on what you're asking for, and then perhaps, I don't know if from legal or Vincent, Matthew, how we might sort of be able to deliver that if we were minded to.
Yeah, we'll just explain.
Preston.
It's called a meanwhile garden because it was something we were trying to do while we were waiting for something to happen to Gunnersbury Station. So it's a horrible corner. We thought we would brighten it up. And it is very much used. There are little seats along the planters there. People come and sit and have a coffee. So, but clearly it would look very sad. It's already a bit sad. I mean, there's only a temporary structure. What we were hoping is with the nice designs that the developer has for in front of his building, if he could continue that as far as he can, and then we could have similar design for that corner. But as I say, the issue is how much of it is public realm, how much, I think some of it belongs to Network Rail. And that's why, but if you were minded to say, we think this is a great idea, let's all work together. There are schemes in Chiswick, some of you will be aware of Ginkgo Corner, which was where the council worked with Hounslow Highways with Abundance, and Abundance have been helping us with this garden. So what we're saying is let's all work together. We could apply as a society for a small grant to help our end, but what we want is joined up. We don't want their development with one kind of public realm and then something different.
Thank you.
And if you take it to the railway bridge, it would actually also mirror then, or not mirror, but you know, if you look across the road, the Chiswick Business Park has a wonderful
It's quite
landscape.
a Spartan strip there,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and they've even planted, although some of them have died, they've got to replant. They planted along the bridge, you know, so they've greened up their side. So we want to green up the other side. So
Thank you. That answers my question. Vincent, Matthew, do you have any thoughts?
We've just been discussing. So, I mean, this is exactly the sort of thing that would benefit from a Thriving Communities Fund bid, or which is effectively the local SIL element of SIL, and given that it tallies up with the ambitions of this scheme, you can see how the two could marry together. So I think that's probably the correct kind of route for that.
Councillor John Drayton.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. I think we all agree, and although not been at it as long as you, but some of us have been trying to get this station sorted out for a long time. And I think we have to recognise, and as we know, that mainly Network Rail, but to some extent TfL, are the difficulty in this of actually getting them to do something. And I hope you agree that the best thing we can get out of this is to get this station in the best possible place so that if and when they get their finger out, they can get it done, rather than finding, as they've done over the last, since I've been involved in it, 10 years, finding reasons not to do it. And I think then it's incumbent on everybody, the council and groups like your own, just to keep the pressure going on Network Rail to get that done. I hope you'd agree with that.
Yes, I do agree, and one has to recognise why this is such an opportunity, because this is the first time in my knowledge, and I've lived in the area for 40 years, that the owner of the tower has been willing to give up some land. Previous owners, overseas owners, whatever, were not willing to give you 1 centimetre of a car park to do anything about the station. And this is why this is a real opportunity, and this is why we're saying it's now or never. The important thing is to safeguard the land, but it has already, I think, been explained. The actual land that's safeguarded is what you might need to expand the station. But how could you physically construct that if they've built houses on the car parks? So it means that the developer can't develop plots 2 and 3, and you'll have to ask him, is he willing to wait 25 years once he's built, done his tower? So yes, TfL and Network Rail, they play each other off, and as you know from when you were involved in the Gunnersbury Station Action Team, which is something we got our MP at the time to set up after the debacle of 2012, we set up the Gunnersbury Station Action Team, and we had TfL, Network Rail, Uncle Tom Cobley and all. And in the early days, we did get somewhere with it, but as I say, the difficulty then was the building owners. So this is an opportunity. My real request to you is, as councillors, and you're a third of the council here, almost, that you work on your cabinet colleagues and the leader of the council to say there's no sill coming from this development, but you have all the sill, much of which has been acquired from all that's gone on in East Brentford, all around the stadium and everywhere else. All those big developments have all given you a lot of sill, and if this isn't urgent, I don't know what is. And just on that point, I'm aware that the council recently gave £700,000 for the West London Orbital. Well, that really is still pie in the sky. You've got to build new stations. We have a station, we have tracks, we have trains. We just want to get access to them.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Joanne Bidoff to come up, please. Councillor Joanne Bidoff, just to remind you, you have 5 minutes to speak.
Before I start, I must declare that I know the owner of Your Shout, the consultancy firm employed by the developer. I also know one of the freelancers he works with, but who has not, so far as I'm aware, been involved in this development. I think the owner would agree that I had an extremely robust conversation with him about the inadequacies of the consultation, particularly the online consultation sessions that demonstrate I'm not influenced by the fact that I know him. Is that all right? So, Councillor Joanna Bidoff, Chiswick Gunnersbury Ward. First, it is not fully accurate to describe me as an objector. There are some aspects of this proposal that residents support, plus I'm representing their views, not my own. I'll start with the positives and then talk about some of the concerns. First, the good points. That the tallest building is not to be demolished and replaced. The impact of new builds on the environment is huge and conversion is preferable, but needs to be done well. And as we've all been talking about, safeguarding the land for the improvement of Gunnersbury Station. This is a one-off opportunity that must not be missed, and it will be if this application is refused. And I endorse the comments made by the West Chiswick and Gunnersbury Society about this on the time scale and other issues. So first, the Gunnersbury Station improvements. The entrance to the station must be kept clear and as wide as possible. Landscaping is welcome, but must be practical and support safe movement. I'm worried that the landscape proposals will not safely accommodate the large numbers of travellers who use this station at peak times. Before COVID, 10,000 people a day commuted to the business park opposite. Currently, around 5,000 to 6,000 a day commute midweek at Chiswick Business Park, with signs that this is increasing. The 2023 counts you were given is irrelevant. Steps up, down, and modular seating right at the entrance, pretty though they are interruptions to safe, fast walking. The need here is not for a public park and exhibition space, but for safe passage in a hurry. It's a transport hub for tube and train. The seating and planting should be moved east, which would help the West Chiswick and Gunnersbury Society with that area, and it should be without steps. It's ironic that steps are being built just as we're talking about step-free access to the station. On social housing, it's regrettable that the social housing homes were based on the much derided poor doors concept, isolating social tenants from their neighbours. There's nothing that can be done about that, but I think it should be on the record. The development next. As a former member of this committee described a similar proposal elsewhere, this is a huge HMO. Yet the report identifies there's a limited need for co-living units in the borough and an extremely limited need for large-scale purpose-built shared living accommodation in Hounslow. And forecasts are that household formation rates for younger single people are falling. The concern is, with services including a concierge, linen changing, room cleaning services, that it will become a gigantic Airbnb or similar, with a constant churn of residents with no commitment to the local community. Its management is therefore crucial. In addition, the units in communal areas must not deteriorate as happened in housing association blocks, and we don't know who will manage it or how it will be managed. The size of the units is tiny. One resident has described this development as a human filing cabinet. All units in both blocks fail the various acceptable size standards. If the station improvements do not happen, the council will have confined residents to rabbit hutch living. So members must assess the suitability of the size of the flats independently of the potential station improvement. The suggestion made to me personally that this block will reduce the pressure on HMOs elsewhere is an illusion and a distraction. Converting one modest house to 6-bedroom HMO, which in Chiswick yields around £1,000 a room, will always attract investors. The borough already has an oversupply of 1- and 2-bedroom flats. The real need is for family homes. Next, cladding. I'd like some reassurance about this. Residents are very concerned about cladding in relation to the Grenfell tragedy and also bits falling off. So if you could give some clarification on what it's going to be and how safe it's going to be, that would be helpful. Overlooking remains a concern, with residents of nearby roads concerned about this, and this doesn't seem to have been satisfied in the plans. We've all talked about wind. The concern from residents is that the integrity of the building is at risk when the windows are open, because currently windows can't be opened. So that's changing the dynamics. So I'll move on now to lighting, which is mentioned in what the West Chiswick and Gunnsbury Society submitted.
30 seconds left.
Lighting along the two paths has been problematical for years. It needs to be better and to be done by one supplier, so it's easier to ask for repairs. Water supply is mentioned. Thames Water is telling existing residents they must pay to have water pumped to their homes. This must not happen here. Water to this development must be secured without any impact on others. And finally, construction hours must support residential living, which this area is. Too many developments are given concessions, and life for neighbours is intolerable.
Thank you. Can I ask for any questions? Dan?
Yeah, just to clarify, are you for or against this application?
I'm in favour of it. I'm pointing out concerns that members need to satisfy themselves about in terms of size of units, because there are concerns about rabbit hutch living, and their use, because it's very easy to lease a flat intending to live in it, so-called, and then letting it as an Airbnb. So I want the station improvements to happen, and this is the only way that I think they will happen.
Thank you. Any more? No. Thank you, Councillor Joanne Biddulph.
Can I just point out an error in the papers, 8.4? It says e-bike operator, and then it says procure a car park operator to provide a single car club. Somebody's cut and pasted and not revised. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, can I invite the applicant, Will, to the table, please? Okay, Will, we'll just get you to introduce yourself, and you will have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Will Kumar. I'm here on behalf of Chiswick Tower Limited, who are the owner of the building. I'm here with our project team as well, so we're happy to take any questions you might have after. The existing building, built in the 60s, as we all know, not fit for purpose as a modern day office building, and with the Chiswick Business Park next door, it's going to struggle going forward. We think this site is a perfect site for co-living. It's an existing building at a transport hub and opposite a major employment centre. The main proposed use of the tower is for just short of 400 high-quality co-living rooms, plus large amount of amenity space for the new residents, including kitchens, lounges, working areas, outdoor spaces and other uses.
we're happy to answer any questions about co-living, but for now I will say it is a use that is growing in popularity. Whilst there are no age limits, it would be fair to say it's a market which is finding more traction with graduates and younger people who enjoy having a choice of either spending time in their own flats or spending time in the shared spaces that are available. I know affordable housing is important, and as you'll have read in the report, your officers consider that the scheme can't offer any affordable housing, and that the lack of affordable housing wouldn't be a reason to refuse the scheme. However, despite this position, we are proposing to build a new annex containing 23 social rented homes, which you can allocate to people on your waiting list. The social rented homes will make up 14.4% of the total floor space of the co-living tower. And we will also be offering a further cash sum of £1.5 million to bring the total affordable offer to an equivalent of 20%. This is the agreed amount with officers that we are seeking approval for tonight, and we consider this as a good offer, especially when considering the current application is in deficit. There will also be a new public park to the rear, accessible to residents and the local community. The tower will be reclad and will look a lot nicer than it does at the moment, and in the same time will become more energy efficient, reducing carbon emissions. And just to confirm, all cladding will be A1 rated and will go through the Building Safety Act compliance procedures. Obviously, the big concern here is Gunnersbury Station, and as Jackie's outlined, we've spent a lot of time with the freeholder Network Rail and also the leaseholder and station operator Transport for London. The application offers immediate substantial improvements to the public realm at the station entrance, including the widening of the entrance, improvements to the visibility and the wayfinding. It will be a better station for residents as a result. We've agreed with Network Rail that parts of the site will be safeguarded for 25 years to allow Network Rail and TfL to agree on what improvements to carry out. Obviously, we'd like the station to come forward as soon as possible. I think everyone here does. But as Maria's pointed out, the status quo at present is that there is no opportunity to bring forward a station. This application allows an opportunity to safeguard an area for the station to come forward. So it's an opportunity not to be missed. The proposal will result in a minimal increase in two-way trips in the rush hour and evening and morning times. I refer you to paras 6.181 and 6.182 in your report, which clarifies this. This small increase on the transport network is accompanied by a bigger decrease in car trips, which is a significant net benefit in terms of taking vehicles off the road. So to conclude, the proposals find a new use for the tower. They provide affordable housing, significant public realm improvements, and immediate station improvements. This application presents a real opportunity to improve the station now and in the long term, and we would ask members to support the officer recommendation for approval. Like I said before, I'm here with some of my team, and we're happy to take any further questions.
Thank you. Anyone got a question? Councillor Matz?
Yeah, thank you for that. My questions are related to the concept of co-living. You mentioned that it's an emerging market for you. Given it is an emerging market, could you just give us at the beginning a sort of more general interpretation of what that market looks like, perhaps with some focus on the type of residents that you're expecting, what are they looking for? And then a second question, which will probably be related, is given you are proposing to do this at the sort of tail end of a desire to create commercial spaces, there's obviously a change in the market where we want more residential, and that's what you're sort of tapping into. The question I'm driving at is, what if that changes in the future? We're talking about lots of changes in market conditions, and we're talking about a really large structure here. If there was a change in, the future where co-living wasn't the market that you see it at the moment, is there sort of an ability to retrofit the existing structure of which you're designing into something new? Is that something that's considered in your proposal?
If I take the latter question first, 'cause probably the easiest. Yes, I mean the building as a structure is very flexible in terms of its ability to be converted into a number of uses. Hence this proposal, being able to convert from office to co-living. There's not really any significant structural changes to the building required to deliver it. So working it back the other way, you'd have the ability to convert back to other uses. In terms of co-living as an offer, I think it's really born out of a kind of drive for younger people specifically, but not exclusively, to have more of a community feel around where they live. The spaces are set up and designed so that people, whilst they have their rooms and they can sleep in there, cook in there, etc., wash in there, the scheme is set up to drive community interaction between young people. We see a lot of young people are getting very frustrated with the housing options they have to them, the expense of them, the fact that they're often flat sharing in substandard conditions. There are also a lot of other benefits you get with living in a co-living scheme. You get to use co-working facilities, you get to use gym. There's various other things in there, programs, cooking, etc., which when you kind of take into account of renting a house and having a gym membership and all the rest of it, actually it provides good value. Ed, I don't know if you want to add anything about the sort of architectural side and how it works, and sort of counter that rabbit hutch narrative. Do you want to say a few words on that?
Yeah, hi, Ed from Assail Architecture. I mean, we've designed a number of co-living schemes, a couple of which are in operation in Wandsworth. They're hugely popular. They're top number 2 and number 3 rated against all build-to-rent products in Wandsworth. So they're offering a flexible option that's not currently really available in the mass market. I don't really want to get into all the kind of little details, but it's just providing that extra flexibility that Will's already talked about, another offer on the market. And if you do something really high quality that provides that community, it's really fighting quite a big loneliness epidemic that we see happening in single family households, which is on the rise. And you can find different evidence to support different routes, but the client and many other people in London are very confident that there's a huge demand for these developments, and hence they're being brought forward. And when they're opening, there's a huge demand for them to be taken up.
Just a very small follow-up is I left student halls and then lived at the basement of that, not in the basement, but very close to the basement of the building, so I know the feeling. So just more in terms of the financials, I'm trying to understand the market from your perspective. You view this site as a way in which you can put in more units, presumably because those units are smaller because they're co-living, and that is potentially financially more of an attractive offer than building what you would for a series of flats. That's a broad? You're not doing this out of social benefit. It is a more efficient use of that space.
It's also sort of tapping into more of an institutional investment asset class. So where you are building flats for sale, that there is, especially in sort of current market, yes, there is a fair bit of risk involved in that. But when you are delivering a sort of living asset at an institutional grade, yes, again, there is obviously a commercial attraction to that. But I think what that does, it just ensures that it doesn't become a giant HMO, because then you will lose all your value essentially. Hence why all the additional provisions and all the additional amenities included within the scheme.
Councillor Dan Bowen. Okay, Councillor John Trotop.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think you've got the flavour that whilst we think doing something with that tower is a good thing, it's a bit of a carbuncle, and putting some social housing in is a good thing. The station's the deal breaker. And personally, unless I feel, and I'll try to convince the rest of my colleagues, that you're fully bought into this, you're going to set the conditions where this station, I'll be urging people not to vote for it and gamble on the fallback, and hoping that we get something later that someone else or yourself come back with something better. So what we want to absolutely convince us that you are working with TfL, you are going to do a proper technical because I'm going to be minded to put this in as a condition, a proper technical feasible study, because TfL need to know how much this is going to cost them. They can't say, yeah, we'll do it in 13 years' time until your feasibility, because if the whole thing needs underpinning, then the whole thing's off the table. That's what we're looking for at the minute.
Yeah, I'll comment first, and John may want to tag on after. But yeah, I mean, the feasibility, whilst the pictures on there looked very nice, it was an extremely detailed feasibility study done by Grimshaws, who have built hundreds of stations, some very well known. They've gone through every single guideline principle within TfL standards and have applied that to the space. And the principle of that feasibility was to identify what space we, as a developer, would be giving up to TfL in order for them, and Network Rail, sorry, in order for them to bring forward the station. We did that. TfL agreed with us that the area we were showing would be enough for them to bring forward the station. They asked for some additional area to bring forward the station that was not originally in our feasibility. We said that was fine for them to safeguard. So the safeguarding area has increased from what we originally set out at TfL and Network Rail's request. TfL and Network Rail also requested the area to be safeguarded for 25 years with a 13-year break. We can't, say for, at TfL bringing the funding forward, we can't do anything more to assist TfL in being able to bring forward the development of the station. We're all in favour of the development of the station. It would be amazing to have it right next to our scheme, and we want it to come forward just as much as everyone else does. And we're doing everything we can to enable them to do that, but it's really now on to them to do the final bit of work, which we'll be funding as part of the Section 106 agreement, the structural piece of work, so they can identify that the station is structurally acceptable to take the new yes, yeah.
Supplementary to that. So you're convinced that once this you've given the 50,000 in, the work's been done, that what's going to come out of it is going to be giving Network Rail, who actually do own the station, a really good understanding of what it's going to, how long and how much it's going to take to do what needs to be done to that station.
The £50,000 was a request from Network Rail and TfL for the additional work that they needed to get to the next stage, as I understand it, and Jackie can confirm that. But yes, we don't have the expertise to design a station. They need to be able to assess that themselves, the feasibility themselves. So they'll be taking that scheme forward. So they have asked for £50,000 to get to the next level of detail that they can then go away and cost the scheme. So we've agreed to pay for that. We paid for the initial feasibility as well, which enabled them to understand what the station requirements would be and the land required, and they then said they needed an extra bit of technical information around structure for £50,000. They came back to us with that, and we agreed to it, along with the time frame.
And is that, looking at the planning team, is that in the, where does that sit in the scheme of the approval?
Yes, so that would be embedded into the Section 106 agreement. It's part of the heads of terms currently, and then we would attach that to the Section 106 agreement.
Okay. One final question. What's the ballpark rent on one of these co-living rooms? I mean, what is someone paying Wandsworth, for example, and what does it include?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can tell them. Yeah.
I mean, you threw Wandsworth onto the table, so.
Yeah, Wandsworth. So in Earlsfield and Battersea, it's about £1,800 a month.
1,800 a month.
Yeah.
And that's all bills.
That's everything included. So the big attraction is that absolutely everything is in there on day one, including all your furniture is all in that building. You don't have to sign up for council tax, for everything. It's all paid as a building as a whole.
Wi-Fi, gym, water.
Everything. No deposit. You can move
free coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, or free co-working spaces, etc.
Okay.
Councillor Darnish.
Yeah, good. Actually, I'm going to be asking something that's already sort of been touched on. I was going to say, so the flats, the main flats or apartments, they are of acceptable size, or are they going to be smaller? And as has already been mentioned, are they going to be fancy rabbit huts with lots of fabulous amenities? Two other questions as well. The annex, is the entrance or the facade of that going to be exactly the same as the main building? You know, is there going to be a big distinction, or it's going to look the same? And thirdly, are the people who live in the annex, you know, are they going to be able to use all of those fabulous amenities? I don't know, jacuzzis, pool, gym, what have you?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Marginson from DP9. We're the planning consultants. In relation to the size of these apartments, co-living has different sets of standards. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they're set by London planning guidance, so it's not the national space standards for C3 typical housing. These units actually, I think they're averaging sort of 22 square metres, which is at the high end of the threshold for the size of co-living units. So these are very you know, spacious for co-living units, and they are going to be designed to a very high standard of accommodation. The annex I'm going to leave to Ed to answer, but what I would say is that in designing the annex building, we've been very cognizant of the need to ensure that that isn't the sort of poor neighbour of Chiswick Tower, and hopefully you've seen that in the quality of the facades that have been proposed, you know, with the use of high quality brick and cast stone. The affordable housing has its own entrance, but again, I mean, it's been properly designed, it's of a high quality as well. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tower is an existing building that we're recladding, so we wouldn't design a new building to be the same as that. We've designed it to suit modern standards, so it's brick and it's 8 stories opposed to 17 stories. So we would describe it as a, you know, beautiful neighbour as opposed to trying to have one homogeneous big development, which I think would feel odd. On the apartment sizes, so they're all designed to national minimum space standards or above, so they all meet those requirements. They're all dual aspect, so we designed them so that they would be suitable for a registered provider of affordable housing to take on, which is who would ultimately be operating the building, given their social rented product.
Sorry, last bit. Yeah, so you're saying it would be a beautiful neighbour, not an eyesore?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what I would say is that we did go to the design review panel twice on this scheme, and I think it is fair to say that the design review panel were very supportive of the design of this scheme. We actually made changes to both blocks in terms of their appearance following comments from the design review panel.
Okay. And the amenities, the usage, people who live in the annex,
Yeah,
are they able to access them, or they don't?
So the issue with that really comes down to the service charge for the affordable units. So it isn't proposed that they would have accessibility to that. They would have access to the co-working space potentially, and they've got
Roof terrace.
They've got a roof terrace, their own roof terrace as well. They've got their own amenities, but in terms of, I suppose, if you're asking, do they have the full amenities of the co-living units, then they wouldn't have access to that. But it does come down to service charge ultimately, because affordable housing providers want to keep that as low as possible for understandable reasons.
John Todd?
Yeah, thank you very much. My colleague mentioned a station group many years ago, our local MP. We had some costs then of a new canopy on the station, which would cost 500,000. So I keep some of the sums in these reports are loose change, 50,000 here, 20,000 here, when the monster in the room is the millions of pounds to do the station. Can you actually clarify what the two things really? What needs to be done to the station, just in general terms, really? And if you can't go ahead, how do you manage that void? Do we see sort of an empty room when we come to Gunnersbury Station, or what? Well, you're going to change the station. Part of your build now is not to change the station. the station goes on hold. Any changes to the station goes on hold, correct? Yeah. So when we see these grand openings and walkways, what will be there when you do your conversion? Just an empty room or what? I don't know, so I'm asking a question.
So everything in the application was originally clear before the feasibility was done, which is the new green entrance around, which is all part of the tower. That's all part of the scheme. So everything up to you going through the tunnel, that's all part of this scheme. As soon as you get to the other side of the tunnel, that becomes TfL Network Rail ownership. So if nothing ever happens with the station, that will just stay as it is. So this can all be delivered independently of changing that station, and that station could be independently delivered without changing the tower.
Estimated cost of doing the station, any idea? No, unfair question.
I'll be honest, we simply don't know, because those costings haven't been done at this stage. Obviously, we're talking about probably tens of millions of pounds.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's the feasibility study, to answer your question around what would be done to the station. There would be widening of concourses, there would be improvements to the gate line, there would be step-free access, there would be canopies. You know, there would be a lot done to the station to improve it under that feasibility, still the two feasibility studies that you saw, but there's no costings of that, but it is going to be several £1 million, as you would expect.
Thank you. Any more questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now members, we're going to go to the debate of the application. Councillor?
I mean, that is fine. We have previously had a situation where members can come back to us after the speaker, so it's no problems from our perspective. Is that okay with you, Chair?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, any questions to the officers?
Chair, I've listened to the discussion quite intently, and quite clearly there is an elephant in the room, or an Achilles heel in this whole developer presentation. So I would like clarification from planning and legal. The works to Gunnersbury Park, short of getting the developer paying for the whole project, he's paying for the feasibility study, but to get him to pay for the whole change, wholesale change that's needed on the station, you know, how enforceable is that? Is that a planning concern that we need to take into account? Is that a planning clause that we could possibly use to, as Councillor John Stroud said a little bit earlier on, that he's mindful of not proceeding with this particular development. Is it a deal breaker? I mean, that's where I want clarification. I mean, I get it that it's a strategic site. And I get that. I sympathise with the presentations made, that we need to get it right. It's a big site, and it's a huge development. And ideally, we'd like to get the Gunnersbury station done. But it doesn't, from what I've heard, whatever TfL or Network Rail need to do, it's outside the remit of this planning committee.
I think that one straightforward answer is you have to assess the merits of this application that's in front of you against planning policy. And what the developer is not proposing to do is wholesale upgrade of the entire station, but they are. You've heard from them, and you've heard from Jackie what is being proposed around the safeguarding, further contribution to feasibility, which will be positive steps towards the station upgrade that I think everyone wants to see. So there's a question of what is reasonable to expect of this developer to contribute towards that at this point in time, and I think we've covered that in the officer report and the recommendation. The questions about SIL, so obviously we do collect SIL from development across the borough. It can be spent anywhere across the borough, so unlike Section 106, SIL is not tied to the development from which it comes. the purpose of SIL is to enable infrastructure that will support growth and development as set out in the local plan. It's a limited pool of funding, but it is available to spend on infrastructure that's going to make a difference to Hounslow. And there's an annual process by which the SIL money that we do collect is allocated to support infrastructure projects. And projects like this are the sorts of things that would be eligible for SIL funding in the future as well, albeit there are multiple other ones that will be demanding on the same pot of money. But it's certainly one of the sorts of things that could be funded through SIL funding in the future, particularly strategic SIL, which is specifically for this sort of thing. But obviously there's steps that need to be go through first, which are very much in the hands of Network Rail and TfL, about what they want the station to be when it comes forward, how much that will cost, that need to be clarified first. It's also set out, I think, in our infrastructure delivery plan. So there are different things we can do from a planning perspective, purely from a planning perspective, is set it out in the local plan, the infrastructure delivery plan, set up a SIL schedule, which we have in Hounslow, so we can collect funding, which we can put towards projects like this. And then outside of that, it's more about working with Network Rail and TfL. Beyond what planning can do sometimes, it's about lobbying them and making sure that we're making the case to them that this is a project that's worth pursuing as quickly as possible.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So thanks for the clarification. So I guess my second question would be that if we were minded to approve this application, would there be a parallel process then that we can instigate fairly quickly, running in tandem with this, working with TfL and Network Rail to have some kind of consensus with the council, in unison with the council, to work on getting past the feasibility stage and getting an improvement project set up for that site. Would that be a good way to go?
That is already happening, and it will continue to happen. I suppose the one thing to clarify is that can't influence the decision making around this particular planning application. But if it provides reassurance to members, that is already, I mean, and it isn't just planning, it's planning, transport planning, regeneration, and other parts of the council working together to continue to work, and members of the community continuing to engage with TfL and Network Rail to make sure it's high up on their agenda, and we're doing what we can to pursue that.
Councillor John Church.
Yeah, as we started off, I mean, with the amount of money that's clearly going to be involved to make Gunnersbury Station a workable station, the best we can expect from a developer is to set the conditions and give Network Rail the best platform possible. And when I say best platform, I mean the least excuses not to take this forward. If we can secure, which I think that it's in there already, that they're going to give the money for a proper technical survey, and then I think that gives us, the council, the leverage to go back to TfL and say, look, you've got this survey, you know how much it costs, you've got a 25-year option with a 13-year break clause, which is far too long, by the way, but the ball is now back in their court, and we have to keep the pressure on them to get that done. I think that's probably the best we can hope for. I mean, I've noticed other things there. The 142,000 to the NHS is going into. Is that committed into the system? Yeah. The only other thing I can't remember seeing in there, that the Met Police asked for a secure by design gold. Is that in or not?
This is by condition.
It's part.
A condition.
It's a condition already. Yeah. Perfect. I mean, sadly, we're stuck with a horrible tower block on Chiswick High Road. We've got two options. We either demolish it or we do something useful with it. And probably, even though I'm not entirely sold on the long-term viability of shared living, my view is this is about the best we're going to get in the short term, and plus we get some much-needed social housing out of it, and we give Network Rail and TfL the best chance of doing something and the conditions to do something with a very dangerous and unattractive station. So with the conditions we've now got and the commitment we've got from the developer within the approval, I don't think we can get it better. I mean, as I said, if we weren't getting that and that reassurance from the developer is quite useful, I would have been minded to say, no, let's hang out with somebody who's going to give us a strong assurance. But I'll leave it up to what other folk think. But I don't think we're going to get much better than that at the minute.
Okay, Councillor Max Mosley.
Sorry, this was just a question for the officers, which was, I noticed Network Rail's comments that there was going to be an increase in footfall for the station. Again, as somebody who used to use it on a daily basis, the footfall on that station is a catastrophe. It is often shut for incoming traffic because it is simply not up to scratch. Given that we're looking at this proposal and there is a comment from Network Rail saying that there is going to be an increase in demand there, so that problem's going to get worse, has there been any viability assessment of what's going to happen to that station as a result, or is it just we think it's going to be harder? Is there any more information to that?
So, because of the trip generation, it is not related to the number of passengers of the station, but then the trip generation itself, there is some discussion among the applicants, TfL and Network Rail, whether how that should be calculated. For the trip generation, due to the submitted information for the trip generation, TfL has requested some funding, but then the applicants has talked about it's not possible for them to have an additional financial contribution due to the possible increase that has been calculated by TfL. But then for the station itself, there are multiple shortcomings that has been identified, and then the solution is the station improvement itself. So that is what the applicants is trying to do to safeguard the land, and then the Network Rail and also TfL can work on the station improvements to solve the problem.
Councillor John Todd.
Yeah, someone's been around too long. Saw this, as my colleagues have mentioned early on, we waited, what, 10, 20, 30 years? Absolutely nothing. And I find it bizarre that we have to instruct an applicant who's showing goodwill towards the council and the concept of a station to go away and do technical work on behalf of a railway or a specialist and someone else. I mean, it's a slap in the face. There's no obligation at all from TfL here or British Rail. All they say, they haven't got money, yet we're indicated from my colleague's question that the income's going to rise. The point someone made is still a valid one. I remember the perennial problem with that station are the stairs, and I'm not quite sure I've seen any evidence tonight how making wide areas on the ground floor would assist stairs going up. There's no mention of escalators and stuff, which you know cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. Okay, I think there's an element of trust here. I think these applicants do have a credible product. They're prepared to work with us. How far you can go and say to someone, you won't use your land, you won't use your facility that you've bought, waiting for a third party who's hiding in the corner. I find that a bit bizarre. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it's obviously Gunnersbury Station is really important, but we're almost slightly losing track of the fact that we're looking at an application. I think I kind of echo what Councillor Todd was saying. It's not incumbent on the developer to build the station, and TfL and Network Rail have said do a feasibility study. They've done a feasibility study. They said guarantee us the land for 25 years. They've guaranteed them the land for 25 years. Now they're saying do a technical study. They're doing a technical study. It seems like the developer is playing their part, and as others have said, we now need to get TfL and Network Rail to improve that. On the application itself, I actually think the diversification of housing available would be a positive thing for this borough. It's a step up from, I think, people renting a room in a house, and in between that and renting a one-bed flat, they seem to think it'll work, and I doubt they'd be pouring lots of money into it if they didn't. And there's no, as far as I can see, real planning reasons for refusal either. So I think with Joanna's condition on the cycle parking, the 80-15-5 as a condition, I think we should approve it.
Councillor Roswell.
Thank you, Chair. You basically said everything I was going to say. Yeah, I mean it's a good plan. I think yeah, you know, just going through. I think it will give a good sort of spruce up around that area as well, which is you know, did different sort of colour schemes as well, just lighten up the area overall and through the high street as well. I think the community would like it as well. It's a fresh look on a very old building. With regards to, and forgive me for this, just coming back to the actual design that we've got for Gunnersbury Station, TfL and Networkware, have they actually seen these designs with some of your conversations and actually approved it?
Yeah, we have worked with TfL and Networkware, and they have been consulted from the very beginning of the PPA. So I would say we work together for the application, so they understand the design of the application itself, and also they have looked into the feasibility study and they support they have checked all the drawings from the very beginning. And also for the feasibility studies, they also check all the results of the feasibility study and they support the scheme. Yeah, I do not see that they have a preference for the two options, the two designs that they have been created. Because right now, to be honest, this is not confirmed design. It is also subject to further feasibility studies. So they are happy with they're happy with the designs, but then I do not see that they have the preference.
Okay, so forgive me. So they're happy with these designs in the plan, yeah? So TfL are happy, and Networkware are happy with these two that are in front of us.
Yes. In fact, in terms of the brief of the scoping opinion, scoping report, they set out some requirements for the applicants to look at from the outset. They look at these two options. They agreed the options that it can move forward because they have input all the TfL requirements, station requirements into this report.
So the feasible study will be on both the sort of the basic sort of platform as well as the enhanced. Brilliant, thank you. That's it.
Councillor Matt Smoothly.
Yeah, I appreciate that we've spent some time on this tonight. I just wanted to sum up my views very quickly. It's mentioned already that we should just focus on the product first. The station, as much as we like, is not ahead of us on planning today. I think the product is a good one. Like I said at the beginning, I often thought that this is a particularly unloved and not very well optimised area in our borough, and we're assessing the degree of which this makes a difference, and I think it does. I was initially quite sceptical of the concept of co-living, hence my questions about it. I see an awful lot of merit for people that will come to our borough to live in a slightly new and upcoming way of living here. I am slightly concerned at the cost. I could quite see the in my mind, this was a slightly, a way in which we could get more people in at a slightly lower cost, but it does seem quite high. But that is obviously reflective of the housing crisis that we find ourselves in, and I don't think it should be up to us in this committee to argue against a sort of market proposal that's been put before us today. And there are obviously values beyond just the cost that the proposal has outlined to us. We have obviously focused a lot on the station, even though I said it's not part of this application. As you will see in all the comments, they are about the station because this is an opportunity and we need to make sure that this is the best step forward that we can take as a council towards a better station. So I think the question for us is, do we wait, and is that going to take us any closer to that station or not? I am concerned, as I mentioned earlier, about the increase in demand in the interim, and I'm not totally satisfied with the situation where we are going to wait in the hope that TfL is going to provide money, and in the interim the situation could potentially get worse. However, as Councillor Baring mentioned, I don't really see that there's a huge reason for refusal. That is a going concern that I think we are going to have to manage as a council. But this whole situation is a challenging one that we are going to have to continue to manage. So for that reason, I am going to vote in favour, and I'm going to propose that we move to a vote.
Do I have a second now? Okay.
Chair, sorry, can I just add, Councillor Barry muted planning conditions. So would we be able to clarify if we're voting on that with a planning condition or otherwise? Sorry, does that make sense? Sorry, so there was a motion. Sorry, in the debate, a condition was mentioned. I don't think it's formed part of the motion.
Yes, this was the condition recommended by Joanna, that the split of the cycle parking is 15% Sheffield stands, 5% accessible, and 80% two-tier. Is that correct?
I try to be correct. It's 20% Sheffield stand, 75% two-tier, and 5% accessible bike stand.
And I defer to your expertise. So the conditions are set out by Joanna.
Thank you. Councillor.
So that would now be what members are voting on, if that's clear, to have that condition included.
So we can go to the vote for that, please. All for full? No against? Thank you.
That was a unanimous vote in favour to approve.
Sorry, Chair, were we approving the condition or the application? Both.
Both, yeah.
My note said it was.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just to note the addendums report as well, please. Noted. Okay, any other business? Or I have none. The date of the next meeting is the 8th of January. I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much.